Hi, I'm Kelly Hayes Raitt. Thanks for stopping by my website. Although I'm an accomplished writer, I've been published and I've won several writing awards, I too get thwarted by writer's block. And so today what I wanted to do was share my tips for the things that help propel me forward and get over that. So I've got visuals, 15 steps to identify what your writer's block is and how to overcome your particular writer's block. I'm going to share with you my insider tips that have propelled me forward, help me deal with writer's block. Writer's block is really not a lack of creativity. It's a dam that blocks the flow of the creativity. So we can talk about ways to kind of keep the flow going, and we can talk about ways to get rid of the dam. We're going to talk about the dam first, because if this is gone, the ideas keep moving. Step one. Identify your particular block. Maybe you don't know how to write. I waste time. I procrastinate. I'm not enough of an expert. Who will listen to me? I'm disorganized. I have no time, or I don't have a big chunk of time. It's all been said before. I don't have enough for a book. What this boils down to is I'm not enough. So step two, eliminate I'm not enough. How? Well, there's a couple of ways that we can work on that. The first is by writing it out, journaling, that voice inside you that's stopping you. You can talk it out with trusted friends or a writing coach like me. I've helped many writers work through their fears to get their books out into the world. You can tap it out, which is something that I do by using emotional freedom technique. It's a way of focusing on a negative thought that's holding us back, or a negative belief about ourselves that's holding us back, and touching different meridian points on our face and our upper body to kind of unblock that block, if you will. So, for example, it might be, although my third grade teacher told me that I couldn't write, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Although my third grade teacher told me I couldn't write, I know I don't have to listen to her voice. She was doing the best she could, but I don't have to listen to her. This is a little woo-woo. I know, I'm from California. We do this kind of stuff. But emotional freedom technique, tapping, really has helped a lot of people, and it's helped me. For more information about this, you might go to www.tappingsolution.com. There's a lot of free meditations, tapping meditations on that I highly recommend. It's just one way of getting to that dam and breaking through that dam so that your creativity can flow. And then finally, another way to do that is just punch it out, punch through it and do it. So step three, rinse and repeat. Every single time you are stuck, dig down to the message that's covering up I'm not enough, and write it out, talk it out, tap it out, or punch through it, so that you can get through and get your writing done and get that flow happening again. So step four, now we're going to talk about getting into the flow and keeping that flow going. Get into the writing habit. I want to talk about habits for a minute, because this is a tough one, right? Getting in that writing habit. Habits are generally formed, successful habits are generally formed by chaining actions together that you already do. So for example, if I wanted to create a habit of wearing my seatbelt in my car every time, I would chain that habit to sitting in the car seat and before I turn the ignition on. So for example, I go to my car, I put the key in the door, I turn the lock, I get in, I sit down, I put my seatbelt on, I turn the ignition. My brain doesn't think about putting on that seatbelt, because it's all one flow, it's all one action of activity. So I've incorporated that habit in there. I've chained that habit with other habits. So if you want to make a daily habit of writing, and you already have a daily habit of pouring yourself a cup of coffee, put your notebook or your laptop by your coffee maker. And every day as you pour yourself your coffee and you have your first cup, write. So after a while, your brain connects coffee, writing, coffee, writing. And your brain isn't thinking about writing at all. It's thinking about coffee, writing, and you get writing done. The second thing that I do, or I believe about habits, is that habits work incrementally. That's the best way to get them to move forward. So instead of thinking about, I'm going to sit down and write for 4 hours every day. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's a huge thing. Think about writing for just 2 minutes every day. 2 minutes? That sounds crazy, doesn't it? But what I found as I was writing, when I have a book that I need to complete and I'm a little stuck and I'm not moving forward, I'm procrastinating or whatever, I do brushing my teeth, flossing my teeth, taking my vitamins, and writing for 2 minutes. And I make that all one activity, one chained activity, and I set my timer and I write for only 2 minutes. And then I go walk the dog or I do whatever else I need to do during my day. The reason why I set it for only 2 minutes is that I can't talk myself out of 2 minutes of writing. I mean, after all, the world's not going to stop turning when Kelly Hayes Reid is 120 seconds late, right? So it means I do it. The significance of that 2 minutes means that at the very least, I have 14 minutes of writing done at the end of the week that I didn't have the week before. But that's the least significant part. More significantly is my book is on my brain every day. So while I'm walking the dog, I'm writing. While I'm driving, I'm writing. While I'm watching TV, I'm catching a note or something that's going to go into the book. So it's a way of keeping the book on my brain. And more importantly, it keeps my book moving forward. There are many days when I come back from walking the dog and I sit down and I write. And I write for an hour, I write for 2 hours, I write for 4 hours, because I'm in the flow of writing. And so it keeps that developmental thing going forward. In fact, frankly, that's how I got my book, How to Become a House Sitter, Insider Tips from the House Sit Diva, finished, was through this 2-minute technique. Because I was hitting writer's blocks. I was hitting all kinds of making excuses for why I wasn't writing. But doing 2 minutes a day helped me actually complete the book and make it successful. So it's a really great way of making things kind of move forward, and it eliminates that I'll get to it tomorrow syndrome, right? I'll start tomorrow, because you're doing something every single day. So step number 5, keep a notebook. I keep this notebook in my purse all the time. I write down everything. Little character notes that come to my mind, facts or figures that I've learned that might be important, little dialogue snippets, chapter subjects, anything. Because what happens when we get writer's block is our memory stops remembering these things. And so to have them written down gives me an opportunity to not only keep those ideas flowing, but to have a place where I can go back and check these ideas out to keep things moving forward. It helps me, when I'm feeling stuck. So this leads us to step number 6. Give yourself reminders. Create an outline. Create lists of things that your character does or eats or wants to do, anything like that. If you're visual, you might want to create a Pinterest page that has photos and pictures of that identify your characters. Or you might want to create a vision board for your characters or your plot or your narration, your memoir. And your notebook of thoughts is this as well. The idea is that you want to create things that will create touchstones. Things that when you're feeling stuck, you can go back and look at and say, oh yes, I wanted to write about this beautiful garden. Anything that would help you kind of move forward, jumpstart forward. And remember, you don't have to write sequentially. If you're feeling stuck in a certain place, you don't have to work through it that very moment. You can skip forward or skip backwards and write. Anything that will help keep you in the flow, keep you from being blocked. Step number 7, talk it out. If you're stuck on a scene or if you're stuck about moving forward, sometimes talking it out can help. So talk it out with your writer's group, talk it out with a trusted friend, or talk it out with someone like me, a coach like me, who can help you get unstuck through talking it out. I know when I'm stuck, I often am able to solve problems in my writing by talking it out with a friend or talking it out with another coach, and that helps keep me moving forward. Step 8, re-inspire yourself. Remind yourself why you are writing this project. I've been writing a book about my experiences in the Middle East with Iraqi refugees. And one of the things that I do to inspire myself, to keep reminding myself why I'm writing the book, keep me motivated, is I have a photo of one of the girls that I interviewed, one of the Iraqi refugees that I interviewed. And I keep her photo handy, and I look at that frequently because it reminds me why I'm doing this project, why I'm working on something so painful, yet so important. And that this girl was generous enough to share with me some of the most painful memories she has, keeps me motivated to get her story out there. So re-inspire yourself. Put a photo or a note by your coffee pot or by your bathroom mirror, something where you can see it every day to get yourself back on track. Step 9, interrupt yourself. You can prevent writer's block by stopping your daily writing in the middle of a chapter rather than the end of a chapter, or the middle of a scene, or even the middle of a sentence. As long as you've got notes on where you're going and you're not going to lose any of that, you'll be so re-inspired to start the next day because you know exactly where you're picking up, you know exactly where you're going, and then you can keep it going and keep it going and keep it going, and it's a great motivator. Step 10, don't get distracted by research. If you're writing along and you come to a place where you need to look up, what a place was called in 1958, don't go check it out then. We all know the internet, it's a rabbit hole, so don't get stuck in it. Just mark in red or green or purple or whatever you want in your text that you need to check what, that street was named in 1958, and then later go back. Because what you want to do when you're writing and you're in the flow, you want to keep that flow going. You want to keep writing.
Step 11.
Create accountability. Sign up to read at your writers group so you've got a deadline. Or buddy write with a friend. That's one of the things that I do. I'll work with a friend. We'll set and schedule a time when we're both going to write in our own separate homes. I will email her ahead of time. She'll email me ahead of time with her intention of what she wants to work on. And then 3 hours later, or whatever the time period was that we were going to write, she'll email me and let me know how she did, and I will do the same. It's a way, for me, it's a way of putting something in my calendar and being accountable to it. In a way that if I put it in and schedule time for just me, it doesn't always get done. So being accountable to somebody else is a really great thing. Or another way to incorporate accountability is to join me on one of my writers' retreats. That's one of the things that we do every morning, is have an accountability session where you have an opportunity in front of a group to say what you hope to accomplish that day. And it might be, finish chapter 2 or outline phase 3 of your book, or whatever. It could be whatever you want, but something that you will work and move forward with. And I think the accountability is really important, and we do that at my writers' retreats in addition to skills building and having lots of free time to do writing as well as personal coaching with me. But the accountability is a key part of it. And so these are a couple of ways to do it. Check the menu bar up at the top of the website here for the most recent writers' retreats that I'm doing, and sign up. I'm doing them in these really great exotic locations. So step 12 is really one of my favorites. And so I want to hold it until the end, and I'm going to skip forward to step 13. Read something by an author whose voice is similar to yours. When I get a little lost, or I just kind of get out of my groove, I pick up Joan Didion. She's the author that does it for me. I write most like her than probably any other author. And every time I read her, I get more inspired to go into my own voice, into my own work, my own rhythm. So who's the author that does that for you? I'd love to hear. Step 14, take your chapter to lunch, but don't connect to the internet. I do this all the time. It's just, at the restaurant, it's just me, my laptop, and my chapter to work on. What it does is it changes up my writing routine, and it gets me focused, and it forces me to concentrate on the task at hand. Plus, I get a good lunch, but it's nice at the end of the hour. I've gotten some real work done. Another way to do that, to kind of get yourself out of your writing routine, is to get out into nature. We're sitting out here in this beautiful garden, you hear the birds, and it's just a good way of shaking things up a little bit, giving yourself a different routine, and getting away from the internet and away from all those distractions. Step 15. Reread from the beginning. Now, I don't mean read and edit. Don't edit, just skim. But if you're stuck or you haven't been working on your book for a while and you want to get back into it, just start from the beginning. Read from the beginning, skim it, get back into your voice, get back into your rhythm, get back into loving your characters or loving your narrator if you're writing a memoir, and you can move forward from there. It's a great way to get back into the flow. Okay, so now we're going to jump back to step 12. For me, this is the most profound. Reacquaint yourself with your character or narrator. And I've created 2 meditations that have been extremely powerful for me, that have helped me when I've been most stuck. I want to share them with you today because I'm really grateful that you have stopped by my website and decided to connect with me. So, are you ready? I'm going to share these 2 with you. Okay, meditation number 1, get quiet and ask yourself, if my book or my memoir were a movie, who would play my main character or my narrator? What actress or actor? Get quiet, let that answer come in, and then stay even quieter and ask yourself why that particular actor. When I did this with my book about the literary journalism piece that I'm writing about my experience in Iraq with refugees, I was in one particular chapter as the narrator, and I was really stuck. And I got quiet, and I asked myself what actress would play me if that particular chapter were a movie. And the answers I got surprised me. I got Felicity Huffman and Tilda Swinton, 2 extremely different actresses. So I asked myself why. And the answer that I got was that these were 2 actresses who play characters, often play characters, who are very tough on the outside, but very vulnerable on the inside. And that particular insight helped infuse the way I approached my narrator in this particular, it was me, but this narrator in this particular chapter under these particular circumstances. And it helped me get through a conundrum that I had. And it was just a really great meditation. And so I like to offer that to people because I think it can be very helpful. The second meditation that I have is to get quiet and ask your main character or your narrator, if she were being interviewed by Oprah Winfrey, what's the one question that Oprah would ask that would make your narrator or your main character cry? What would Oprah ask that would make your main character or your narrator cry? Now, again, for my literary journalism book, I was on another chapter and I was stuck, and I did that meditation. And the answer that I got was, why are you irrelevant? It was such a poignant answer. It was so nuanced, not something I had intellectually thought of. And by having that realization, it helped me get through a particularly tough chapter and get through it and work it out, so that I wasn't stuck and stymied by writer's block. I wasn't stuck and stymied by fear or any of the things that we tell ourselves. I was actually able to move forward. So I'm curious. I hope that these tips have helped. If you use any of these tips, particularly if you use any of the meditations, I'd love to hear what your experience was and what you got out of it. I'd love to hear about which of the tips resonated with you the most. Maybe I've missed some tips. Maybe you have some great tips for overcoming writer's block that you use that you'd love to share. Please contact me using the form on this website, and I'd love to connect with you. So I hope your writing is successful and flows beautifully, and if it isn't and you need help, I'm here to help. As a coach, as an editor, as a workshop leader, I'm on your side. I'm committed to helping you get your book out into the world. We need your voice. Thank you.